And finally, our last step. In the assembly, we are going to attach additional components in order to get video from the drone and transmit it to the operator, and of course we need a module that will be able to get commands from the operator, and in this way we can manage the drone, we can see that it's flying and so on. That's exactly core components that are related to FPVs, first person view drones, because some big drones even can fly with no cameras and can fly in autonomous mode, but in our case we always should have a receiver to send commands to the drone, and we always should provide video stream to the drone operator in order to make sure that drone operator can see using glasses or monitor there to fly and how to fly. And I will start with the cameras. As I mentioned earlier, this is mini format for the camera, and we are not able to use standard plates, carbon plates that you can find in the kit in order to set up it, so I printed my own parts. I designed them myself using Fusion 360, but if you use Rotor Pro, for example, you should not have any problems in order to accommodate your camera using standard carbon plates that you can find in the kit. But in my case, I'm using even extender to full-size camera, and I'm using just bolt in the middle because it has 3 slots there you can put bolts, because I would like to rotate camera probably a little bit if I just decide to fly really fast, and if I would like to make sure that I can get a video stream into the direction there my drone is flying, because then I'm going to fly my drone. It's probably fly like this, yeah, so it's not going to be like parallel to the ground, and it means that probably it's wisely to move camera a little bit up in order to see this way, in order to see video stream from the direction that we are flying. And if you are talking about camera, it has a little bit more wires, and some wires we can use in order to control camera, not control, but set up camera. And we can even set up camera from a drone if we attach a control wire to the flight controller, but I'm not doing this. Usually all these cameras have good enough settings by default. I'm just left 3 cables, one for power, one for ground, and 1 video cable. So in general you need 3 cables only in order to connect all this stuff to a drone, and your camera will be able to send video stream to the flight controller, not the microcontroller that is operating your drone directly, but to OSD chip that can get additional information from the drone and do overlay of this information to video stream that it's coming from the camera, and after that send everything to our video transmitter. So operator will be able to see not just video stream from the camera, but some additional information, including, like, for example, GPS coordinates, including current voltage and many other things. So it depends on, and we'll probably set up OSD later, but it's important in general. You can connect your camera directly to VTX, but in this case you'll be able to send just pure video stream only from the camera with no OSD information. So first one, camera. The second one, obviously, video transmitter. The same, I removed couple cables because there is a way to connect camera directly to video transmitter. There are 2 pins that we are not going to use, 5-volt out and ground for the camera. So in general I can provide power supply to this camera from this VTX, and of course I can provide ground from this VTX as well and connect camera directly to this VTX. It's something that we are not going to do once again because we are going to use OSD chip in the middle, and our flight controller has OSD that allows us to overlay some information on top of our video stream. So I have just 4 cables here. One is power, another one is ground, one more cable in order to receive video stream from the flight controller, and finally a cable that allows us to control this stuff and change channels, for example, and all other things. And third component that we are going to use, our ExpressLRS receiver. In this case, I did not need to remove any of the cables. So we have 4 cables here, we have power, we have ground, and we have 2 more cables for UART port TX that allows us to transmit data, and RX that allows us to receive data. And we are going to connect these 2 cables to UART on the flight controller. And as usual, just remember that in case of UART, R you always connect to T, and T you always connect to R, because if it's receiving something on R pin here, it means that flight controller transmit data from T pin on the flight controller from UART port. So it's something that we are going to connect. Probably this one we are going to connect at the end, because it should be fixed probably to the top plate of the frame. And I attached both antennas. In our case, we have cross-band receiver, and it means that it has 2 chips, and they are working in parallel, and they can be configured in a way then one chip, for example, getting information using frequency 915 MHz, another chip, for example, can get information using frequency 2.4 GHz. That's why you can see every antenna potentially it can work for both of the frequencies, 915 and 2.4, and they are pretty universal. Of course, we can configure this receiver in a way then it can support 915 only, for example, or 2.4 only, for example. It depends on our radio controller, it depends on our needs, and many other things. Yeah. So we will set up ExpressLRS probably later, and in our case it's not so important as for now to understand how it works, because we are still doing hardware. And that's all. So let's attach these 3 components to the drone frame. I will probably start with the camera. Usually you can see this connector. This connector should go on the top. And if you set up camera like this, your, of course, video stream will be rotated 180 degrees, and it will be really hard to manage your drone. So you have to set up like this. There are some exceptions, you need to check them. For example, Cadix Infra camera, it has connection at the bottom side for any kind of reason. I don't know why, but in our case it should be on top, and in Cadix Retro it should be on top as well. And I probably will start with the camera first, and in my case, since I have 3D print and I already used a couple bolts in order to attach this camera to my 3D print, so what I need to do, just insert it using this stance, and done. So as I mentioned, I can rotate it a little bit. But in this case, I'm going to just put it in a way that it's going to look straight away. And I will need to connect these cables to the flight controller, leave it as is. The second thing that probably we would like to attach is going to be our VTX. And you can see that once we have VTX here, our capacitor is not going to be movable anymore, because from both sides stands fix it, and from another side it's going to be fixed by our VTX. Potentially you can install even bigger VTX module. For example, I find Blitz, it's much bigger, and 10-inch frame can fit that VTX, but in this case it's better put capacitor a little bit up or even move it on another side of the drone compared to power cables. So in order to attach this stuff, we're using bolts, and 10-inch frame has enough holes in order to accommodate this flight controller with VTX. Some people believe that it's not wisely to use bolts in order to attach VTX directly to the frame, because potentially it can affect your quality signal. Working with this GPRC Maten VTX, I never saw any problem, so I always attaching everything using bolts and everything works fine. Moreover, Maten has, these slots that are moving out of the primary body of the VTX, and it means that if you prefer, don't use bolts, but if you prefer to use, for example, two-side scotch just in order to stick this VTX to the frame, it will be hard to do in this configuration. It means that probably you need to put some additional filling in the middle, because obviously scotch will not work just for these 4 legs. You need to have good contact with the whole body of the VTX. So in my case, I'm going to use bolts, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to screw all the cables in order to make sure that they are not moving across the frame in different directions, and they can be represented as a single cable, and in fact it can even positively affect stability. Some people at least believe in that. But VTX itself has several kind of bolts. I'm going to use these bolts, but I found that they are a little bit longer rather than needed. But my camera has this plastic stuff in the kit, so I can just put it I can just add them to our bolts in order to just make them a little bit shorter, and in this case I can fix my VTX. I just need to understand which holes to use. Okay, probably this one, and we'll try to fix VTX. Okay. And it's so distracting when we're using different key for everything. Okay, I fixed my VTX, and final element is our receiver. How we can fix this stuff? So usually I'm using a tie in order to just attach it to the upper plate of the drone. And what we have to do with these antennas? Two cases. Case number one, you have 3D print. I have 3D print for them. Or case number two, you can just attach them to the drone arms and use ties in order to fix them here. And in this case, your drone can look like this. And it's wisely even to move it under the motor cables, or you can move them even under the drone frame. It depends on which legs do you have and how you're going to launch your drone. Usually I'm just putting them under the cables and fix using ties like this. And in this case you have your receiver that you can attach to the top side of the frame like this, and it's going to be operated, and you'll just use ties in order to fix it. And you have two antennas like this. If you have 3D print, I have 3D print, it's something like this. I can just attach it to the 3D print and locate this 3D print here using stands at the backward part of the drone. So it depends on the problem with 3D prints that you need to find a 3D printer, and the most of 3D prints are not totally ready for 10-inch drone. So for example, the second important part, antenna for your VTX. And antenna, it's better to locate it in there, then it's going to be a little bit upper compared to your drone upper plate, because you should have a battery here, and if you have your antenna for example right here, and your battery is pretty big on the top, moving your drone back and forward and rotate it, it can be a situation then your signal will not come to the operator, because it can be blocked by battery, and it's always better to have it on the top of the drone to make sure that there is no interruption between your video signal and the operator. And in this case you need to have a 3D print that can start your antenna hole, not from here but like here for example. And that's why I don't recommend to buy kits with 3D prints, because all those 3D prints that I saw were so useless. They usually don't allow you to accommodate like big VTX and antennas in the right direction. So it's always better to print on, find one using open websites for 3D print components, or design your own 3D print stuff. In my case, I have a 3D print that looks like this, and antenna is going to go from here. So it's first of all going to be far away from a connection point between battery and my power cable, and the second, it's going to be upper rather than my battery level, that it's good as well. I spent some time looking at internet and found some few free 3D prints probably to recommend you, but I didn't find anything good. So pick any. Okay, potentially if you're not flying too far, you can accommodate your antenna here, like in many 3D prints you can find. Probably design something common. It's not hard to do if you spend a couple hours in order to learn Fusion 360, and if you are a student, Fusion 360 is free for students as well. So you should not pay anything, just find a way how to design it, and of course find a way how to print 3D parts. If you're going to assemble many drones, you definitely need to buy a 3D printer. I have 3D printer obviously. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach antenna, at least first antenna, to this stuff using ties. Probably I can use smaller ties. So I attached the first antenna, but we have two antennas in this case, so your 3D print should accommodate two antennas. And the second one antenna I'm going to attach to my 3D print for VTX. On this side it has a special space to attach exactly antenna for the receiver. So in order to do this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to insert this stuff first, and this is important component of your drone, that should be tight here, because if suddenly it start vibrating and your drone will probably fall, because if it start vibrating, your antenna will be screwed out, and there will no antenna VTX will be damaged right away. So that's why I always fix antenna, because every time then you attach your components and suddenly you start testing your drone, if you forget antenna, you have a problem. And let's try to attach this VTX. Probably I have to detach antenna first. Okay. And let's attach it here. And find the best way to move this antenna cable in order to attach it back to VTX. So probably even can move it on the top, but it's exactly why I prefer to use pigtails with no angle, because in this case you can just attach it easy. Yeah, so if you have angle, you need to have a 3D print that will mount your antenna somewhere in this area. But it's not always cozy to do. Okay, I mounted pigtail back and everything looks fine, but you can see it has some tension and there is a risk that it will move out. So that's why I ordered pigtails with no angle. I'm still waiting for them, and once I have one, I will just change this pigtail to pigtail with no angle. And the second antenna we are going to fix like this. So in this area, and we'll have two antennas that are perpendicular to each other. Potentially it will improve quality signal. So let's fix this antenna as well. Okay, both antennas have been fixed. And it's moved a little bit, you can see, but once you attach your plate on the top, it's going to tight and it's not going to be moved anymore. And I have two antennas. I have antenna for VTX, and now all what I need to do is just attach my cables. So there to attach all these cables. First of all, I'm going to attach camera. You can see that Matek supports two cameras and allows us to switch between two cameras. On flight has camera 1 pin. Let me find something to show you. Camera 1 pin here and camera 2 pin here. We have just one camera, so we are going to use camera 1 pin for video cable, and we are going to use 5 volt and ground here to provide 5 volt, and 5 volt is enough for our camera and ground. The second thing that we are going to attach is going to be our VTX. VTX should go to this set of pins. You can see that there is a pin called VTX. Not very convenient location, because usually we are placing VTX at the backward part of the drone, and pin, you can see it's in the forward part of the flight controller. The second pin ground, and next one TX. TX we are going to use for TX this green cable that is important to manage VTX, and yellow cable is for video. I believe it was exactly in the same sequence, but you have to check. Video cable VTX should go to VTX, and there is IRC or something like this. It should go to TX pin here. And in this case, we accommodate with UART. The only thing that we need to care about is like power pin. We need to additionally care about it because, as we mentioned before, VTX can supply power in a range from, at least this one, from 7 to 36 volts. So we cannot use 5 volt pin. We need to use power from the battery. And in order to do this, we can use pin code VSW, and it can get 5 volt or it can get power from the battery. In order to get power from the battery, we need to add solder to these two pins in order to build connections between them. So you can see 3 pins in the middle of the board. If we connect 2 of them, it will be battery voltage. If we connect another 2, it will be 5 volt voltage. So we are going to put voltage from the battery, and it's going to be like second important part to attach. And third part, we are going to attach our receiver. We are going to use this UART port for this. We are going to use ground. We are going to use RX for T pin on the receiver. We are going to use TX for RX on the receiver. And you can see there is a 5 volt, but it's marked like 4V5. What it means? It means that we have power for this pin, even if we attach our flight controller using USB. So we'll have 5 volt here, even with no battery. So we'll be able to set up our receiver, connecting this flight controller to our computer using USB cable, and we don't need to attach battery. So let's try to solder everything. I changed tip to small one, and let me turn on my soldering iron. And while we are waiting, I'm going to add some flux to pins that we just discussed. Okay, and it let me spread it. Definitely need to have some flux here and some flux here. Okay, and now let's add solder first to all the pins. So first of all, camera 1. And you can see I told it that it's great for a controller. It's really hard to damage anything here because no components on the top part of the flight controller. So let's create a bulb that we'll be able to use to move our... We are not going to use battery here, but we need ground. Ground, 5 volt, and we are not going to use camera 2, so we need just ground and 5 volt. And here we need VTX definitely. We need this pin with power. We need ground. And we need to use TX. Moreover, you still have RX pin here for UART that we are not using. You can potentially use it in order to control camera if you don't remove control cable and still would like to attach it. Probably one day we'll show how to do this. And we need to connect the battery pin to the middle pin in order to have the battery to our power pin for VTX. Let's do this. Okay, looks fine, probably even more than needed. I would like to make sure that I connected just 2 pins rather than 3 of them. Okay, it should be fine. And finally, our slot for receiver. Okay, done, and now we're able to solder. So first of all, let's start with camera. Since don't locate it in there, then it's easy for me. It has one cable, so first of all, I'm going to fix this cable to the bottom part of the drone. As usual, I'm going to use ties. To make sure that this cable is not just moving during the flight, and don't add any kind of vibrations, anything like this. So I'm using a tie to fix it. Done. And I will need to cut this cable because it's too long. Okay, and now we need to remove insulation. I am using my fingers only, so just use my nails. It's exactly like I have them, yeah, so just use stuff and remove insulation. Leaving just a little bit, because if you are leaving too much, you can generate a shortcut in this case. And I am going to it could be wisely to rotate them a little bit, but my fingers cannot do this. Anyway, yeah, so. And I am going to add solder. And now let's go and try to attach cables. So I am going to start with this camera one. Okay, you can see cable moved inside the bulb. It's how it should look like. Nothing moving outside. And last one. Okay, camera done. Next one, VTX. It's better to cut this cable as well, but for VTX I will probably leave them as for now and attach like this. It's not usually a good idea to move cables across the flight controller, but since we don't have any electronic components here, probably it's not so bad as well. So I'm going to leave it as is, and let's try to attach all these cables. So let's start with TX pin. That should be, I believe, a green cable. Probably we could make connection even shorter, but let's try to use this. Okay, moved inside. Next one is better to work with the ground cable. Tweezers can potentially help here, but I'm too lazy. Okay, it's inside. Next one is a power cable. Moved inside. And last one going to be our VTX itself. Not cooperative. Every time it's moving away. Let's try to do it again. I don't like this bulb, it's really small, so I'm just going to add some solder. Now it's really big. So I'm just clean my tip and remove some solder. Okay, should be fine. It's always a great idea to use magnifier in order to see if everything is fine with your pins, no shortcuts, nothing like this. And now we are ready to connect our TX. Let's rotate the drone, and it's going to be like right here, so probably can cut this cable, and you can see I have connector. So it's always painful to cut so nice cable with all the connectors, but I have no connector to attach. And as usual, I'm going to use my nails. If you're using wire cutter, probably it's really hard to remove insulation, but nails are good. And attach solder, but we need to apply flux first. Now we can attach, add some solder. Make sure that your cables, wires inside the cable are not separated. The last one. Okay, and now do the same. Some rotation to make sure that you have a single cable, and you need to check which one is here. So looks like that RX here, it's a yellow cable, so it's going to go to GX. So we will start with yellow. TX pin is here. Okay. Next one, RX in our case, and we have to connect TX cable. Looks like that it's white one. If you change TX and RX, you just don't have connection in this case. You will not have connection, and it does not damage any component. You just need to resolder it. So next one, and now I have to connect power wire. And now I need to connect ground wire. Okay. All of them have been connected. Maybe this way is better. And that's all. Now I can just remove all these bolts and attach plate on the top and fix all components that we still need to fix. And you know, once I finished with all these bolts, I just found that I forgot to clean the board. It's important to do, so I'm still going to do this. Potentially could assemble, potentially I could remove the top part of the door, but looks like that we have enough space that I can use in order to clean all these connection points from the flux. And moreover, when you clean it and you look at your board again, your soldering points should look really clear, and you can see if you have shortcuts or no. If you had, for example, some doubts before you cleaned the flux, after that you should not have any doubts. And okay, looks fine. Looks fine. And let's attach our receiver. I'm going to use this tie. Not much, and make sure that you will not activate any buttons, because there is at least one button. And just make sure that it's not vibrating. And we are going to attach our cable as well. Let's do like this. Because we have propellers here, and we need to make sure that this cable will not move towards the propellers. And we will connect it here. Obviously, you can use, if you have 3D printer, you can design some 3D parts in order to move wires. Here, I believe this hole is not enough, and you can build some connectors also, but we are using the simplest way to attach our battery. So our battery is going to be on top, and we'll connect it to this point. And that's all. So we have our drone ready, and now we need to set up it and make sure that it's flying. Let's do this.